So Lucasfilm has made a very interesting move by changing a detail in Return of the Jedi, a movie which came out 40 years ago. After all this time, they've decided to implement a pretty crazy and tragic detail, and in this video I'll break it down for you, so let's get into it. So as any fan of the movie will remember fondly, Luke speaks to Yoda as his life is drawing to an end, and as this happens he has a blanket wrapped around him. As his body fades away and Yoda becomes one with the Force, the blanket falls, and after 900 years, Yoda's legacy has come to an end. Well, mostly at least. We of course see him at the end of the movie, and in other stories he also appears after these events. Well, this robe has quite the story, and it took some damage in a battle Yoda had leading up to the original trilogy. Yoda was quite some time into his exile when he felt lonely, this being during the events of A New Hope. It was something he'd often felt, but he had tried to distract himself from it repeatedly. He felt something reach out to him in the Force, a familiar presence. It was Obi-Wan. Every now and then they felt each other through the Force, helping to keep their loneliness at bay, but not too often. That would endanger their years-long mission. Then he began to feel a vibration, a distant feeling through the Force. This was familiar too. It felt like it was getting stronger, pulsing aggressively. It was Anakin, or what remained of him at least. The vibration felt so dark, so empty, so lonely. Loneliness, a feeling Yoda related to. Their vibrations grew stronger and eventually met, and they pulsed against each other. Suddenly, a searching droid appeared, which Yoda hadn't sensed due to being caught up in the vibrations he felt through the Force. His hand dropped to where he'd usually kept his lightsaber out of pure instinct, but he hadn't needed his weapon in a very long time, and it wasn't clipped to his belt. Using the Force, he threw a pot at the droid, which self-destructed as it was programmed to after taking damage. As Yoda cooled down from the encounter, he felt and heard the wildlife around him running away from the explosion. It was then that he felt Obi-Wan's presence in the Force growing stronger and stronger out of nowhere. Perhaps the strongest it had ever felt. And then, gone. Entirely gone. At least in the worldly aspect. He felt his friend's vibrations move to the netherworld of the Force. At the same time, Anakin fell deeper into his loneliness. So much pain, it was loneliness so dark that Yoda almost felt pity for him. Almost. Yoda perceived the galaxy quietly growing emptier. A sensation of increasing loneliness shrouded him. It was likely this sense that prevented him from detecting the arrival of the two new droids until they were nearly upon him, drawn by the explosive demise of their companion. Instinctively, he reached for his lightsaber once more, and a faint smile crossed his face as his hand met empty space. In that fleeting moment, he reminisced about the satisfaction of battling alongside a fellow Jedi, sensing the Force uniting them and experiencing their synchronized wills. He raised his hand to use the Force, but before he could, the droids opened fire and a blaster bolt flew by and hit a rock behind him. The rock set alight, and that's when Yoda remembered he had put his blanket there. Using the Force to make the droids collide and explode, Yoda jumped on the blanket and stamped out the fire. It was singed, but not too badly. He felt Qui-Gon Jinn laughing at him all the way from the netherworld of the Force. It was his cloak after all, and how amusing would it have been to see him dancing around to try and save it from burning. Sometime before his exile, but after his defeat at the hands of Palpatine, Yoda had retrieved Qui-Gon's cloak and used it to comfort him in his many periods of loneliness on Dagobah. He slept with it, he used it to stay warm, and even just used it to think of happier times when the world wasn't so empty. It was a very tragic day, but also quite a touching one in a way. Yoda didn't want to forget or let go of Qui-Gon, and up until the very end, he had wished that he was still around to help him and Obi-Wan to change the fate of the galaxy forever. I hope you guys enjoyed that touching and tragic little story about Yoda on Dagobah. It's a massive change to the canon. We now know that Yoda's blanket in the movie is actually Qui-Gon Jinn's. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you loved that little detail. Join the Discord down below in the comments and in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.